morning. I hope you are doing well. Welcome. Today, I wanted to talk to the parents. Today, I wanted to talk to you if you're a parent, if you're a mom, even if you're a dad, because I have asked myself the question if other Black families are actually moving abroad. And you probably have asked yourself the same question if you are a parent and you're looking for other people who you can relate to that are doing the thing that you want to do. And one of the reasons why I started sharing our journey is because I wasn't seeing a lot of families doing that. I see a lot of single Black women doing it, and it's awesome and it's very inspiring. But for families, we don't see a lot of Black families doing it. There are a lot of families doing it, but we don't see a lot of them doing it or moving abroad with their children. They might have they might have grown children, adult children, and so they are moving as a couple, but they're not necessarily bringing the kids along. And so when you look at content online on Instagram or on YouTube, you see less of the families. And so today I wanted to talk about the challenges of moving with a family because there are a lot of challenges that you cannot ignore if you're a parent. And so I have a list of challenges here, but I also wanted to talk about the reason why, aside from the challenges, but the reasons why I believe that we don't see a lot of Black families just on social media doing that, or at least sharing their journey. So the main challenge, one of the first challenge, is because you need a lot of time to plan a move. A move done by yourself. I don't remember who I said that to. I think I said that to Kyoka the other day. That if I was single with no kids, I'll probably be in Paris right now because I would have just left because I wanted to and because I can. But as if when you have a family, like when you have a spouse and children who are counting on you and you're counting on as well, the process is just longer. That's just how it is because you have to decide together, with your spouse. If your kids are teenagers, you also include them in that process. And so it just takes more time to decide and be on the same plan, right? To agree on a destination to go to in the first place, right? That could be a little challenging because you might have different opinions on where to go. And the whole plan in itself, like the timeline and what we're going to do there, it takes more heads to think about the process. And so it's really challenging to do that. And on top of that, now the logistics. So are we going to take things? Are we going to leave things? What are we, all the process of moving with, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine people is just more challenging, right? Because there's just more things to take into consideration. Maybe there's two careers to take into consideration, schools, different schools because you have different ages as well for your kids. Maybe somebody is in elementary, primary school, middle school, high school. Now you have to be able to find the right schools for your different children, and that's a challenge. And if you have a special needs child as well, that adds as well to the challenge. And so it's not easy to just make the decision and be out in a month or in 3 months or even within a year because there's just so many moving pieces that you have to solve before you can actually have your foot outside. Another challenge, obviously, is expensive. It's expensive to move abroad. Just to move across town, there are a lot of moving pieces. Again, you have to rent a U-Haul, you have to pack, you have to do all these things and hire people to help you out. It's expensive to move down the street. Now, let alone moving across the world, that involves thousands and thousands upfront costs before you even leave because you have the plane tickets, you have things that you might have to get rid of, and that might cost you money to get rid of things, yes, because maybe you have to ship things, maybe you have to put things in storage, and that's money that you have to pay before you actually leave. And then the moving cost of moving, and then the cost of moving to a new place, whether it's internet, whether it's food for the first month, cleaning fees, all these things that you have to take into consideration, a new place, deposits, all of these things, right? So it's very, very expensive to move a whole family. And so the savings have to be more significant. than if you're single. You have to save because your emergencies can be, very, very significant because you have little ones with you as well and you have a spouse as well. So you have to make sure that you can cover those emergencies as well. Something that you always want when you have children is stability. You want to lower the risks, right? When you're by yourself, you're more willing to take risks than when you have dependents. And so reducing the risks is something that you always put at the forefront of your decisions, and you want to make it as stable as possible, even though it's going to be different, even though kids are resilient, even though you can be resilient as well and you can adapt to the change. You really want the risk to be at the minimum. That's just how it is. Even if you're going for a road trip, you don't want to risk, you want it to be as smooth as possible, and you don't want to just decide to go and then overnight just make the trip, right? There's and because of that, there's also more pressure to make it. A lot of times we think that, when you're by yourself and you don't like a country, well, just go to the next country, right? Just pack your bags, your 3 suitcases, and just go. That's something you can do as a single person. But when you have a family, it's more challenging because what if one child likes it and another child hates it? What if your spouse doesn't like it and you love it, right? And so it's the dynamic of it all is very, very challenging. And so you can't just get up and come back, or maybe get up and go to the next country, because again, all the costs involved, all the logistics involved, if you have pets on top of that, oh my goodness, that's just, a lot. So it's not always feasible to just bop around or get up and go. A lot of families do it, and that's great. That's more power to them. But it's a lot easier to do, obviously, when you are by yourself. Okay. Now, why is it that we don't see that many Black families out there on social media? Well, to be honest, there are a lot of them, right? And we see them, and sometimes you hear about them from blog articles, and then you go on their social media platform and they haven't posted in like 2 3 years. And as a parent, I can absolutely understand that. One of the main reasons is that because it's very time consuming. Creating content takes a lot of time. And just because everything is content doesn't mean that the messy part of your life is content, right? You're living your life, your everyday life. You're not just going out to bars and trying the new restaurant. You're raising your kids. You're living a regular life, whether it's where you are now or your next country. You're not necessarily going for the adventure and being like visiting, like being a tourist. You're going there to live a regular life. And so the regular life, it's not always exciting, right? And so that doesn't qualify it to go on social media, your everyday thing. And sometimes it's time consuming, sometimes it's irritating, sometimes it's just not feasible to do it all the time and to keep up with the demands of social media viewers. So yes, they're living their best lives where they are, but they just stopped sharing content because it's just they're living their regular life. And so it's not always interesting. Hey, Eileen, good to see you. And so it's not always interesting or feasible because it's time consuming to just share content on social media, right? And so that's one thing. The second thing is also mostly when you have small kids, is because of privacy. You don't necessarily want to share your kids with the whole world. Some parents do it, and that's great. But for others, it's just like, I don't want to put my kids on social media, right? People know that I'm abroad, and that's great, but they don't have to see my kids go to school. They don't have to see my kids go to the store. They don't have to see my kids at the playground. It's, as a parent, you kind of want to guard your children, and if you show your kids, that's fine. More power to you. But, maybe your spouse doesn't want to be on camera. Maybe your kids don't want to be on camera. Maybe you don't want to show them, right, to the whole world. And so that's why it's also less content, less content to share, because you talk about being a family moving abroad and you don't show your kids, you don't show your family. It's like, okay, it's not fully family content in that case, right? And so it's a little more challenging as well to keep up with the quote unquote demand of the viewer of seeing a family moving abroad and living life abroad when you don't really want to show your family, okay? And so there's less content to share. So at the end of the day, there are choices that you make. that you just don't want your life to be online because you don't have time and because you don't want it to be online for the whole world to see. And so you keep it private. And a lot of times as well, that's the third thing about why we might not see as many Black families out there on social media, is that you the process, like I said, is very challenging. And so oftentimes you want to share the aftermath. You want to share the accomplishments. You want to share we've made it, we're here, and less about being in the process of planning, being in the process of moving, right? And so I always love this kind of content of the process because that's what I wanted. And that's why I started sharing my own process, because I didn't see that online, right? The process of the decision, the process of the packing, the process of telling the kids, the process of, all of that. And so that's why I kind of share some of that in my content. But it's not easy because when you don't have the answers, you're in the mode of, okay, what do I share? And also in the mode of, it's not worth sharing, right? But it's always easier to share the aftermath, that, okay, the accomplishment, it's done, we're here, here's the house, or here are all the different apartments that we can visit, and then decide on which one we're going to pick, right? It's a little more exciting than the indecision part of the process, because it's messy and people don't like to share the messy part of things, right? And so I completely understand, as a parent, as a mom of 4 kids under the age of 11, we don't necessarily want to share all the everything about our family. And also, it's just, it takes so much time just to come online and to share content for yourself. It takes time, not only to be on camera, but also to think about what you're going to share. And then the editing part. Oh my goodness, the editing part is just, it takes hours to edit a 30-minute video that's going to turn into a 10-minute or 7-minute video. It takes hours to do the work. And so when you have other responsibilities like cooking or just being with your family, you're going to have to evaluate your priorities, and sharing content is not top priority, right? Unless you're like, I don't know, working with brands like all the time, then sure. But otherwise, you're just living your regular life, your regular mom life, your regular parent life, right? And so oh, I forgot actually about that. And so that's why we don't see them. It's not that they're not there, it's just that they have other things to do. So hopefully, when we move, I'll be able to continue to share content of our new, boring, regular life. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to share things that are like, that I feel like are more private, right? And so I think that for families, there's that, balancing of what do we share, what do we keep to ourselves, mostly when it comes to having children and not exposing them to the online world. One additional challenge that I wanted to add before I hop off, that is that puts also a lot of pressure on parents when it comes to moving abroad, is the family pressure, is the grandparents not wanting us to take the grandbabies away, right? And so that also adds to the, okay, can we actually make this? Should we do it, or is it feasible? Or all the people telling you don't do it, but other people that we might not necessarily know, but who are doing it, who are saying, yeah, you should do it because it's your life and because it's better life out there. And you're like, oh my gosh, you stay in the comfort or you go and take the risk, because it is a risky thing, right? To move anywhere you move. And so it's not an easy decision. If you're a parent, I encourage you to take the decision, because, life is made of risks. And at the end of the day, it's better to leave with, to take risk, and then you can readjust, rather than living in regret when you're like, man, I wish, right? And so if you're a parent, if you have any comments, any questions, let me know in the comment section. And yeah, I'm here to encourage you, because I know how it is. I know when you're in the trenches and you're like, okay, how am I going to do this? Am I going to find this for my child? Am I going to find this kind of school for my kid? Am I going to find this kind of, like, your kids have allergies, your kids have a special, I don't know, condition, and you're worried about how it's going to be like for your children abroad. And chances are it's going to be even better than where you are. Chances are it's going to be better, but you have to do your research. So it takes more time. So don't rush it. Don't rush the process, but still go through the process, because you can do it. At the end of the day, you don't have to share it with everybody. We respect your privacy. We respect your need to share the aftermath and the accomplishment. And we'll be here to cheer for you and to watch your content if you decide to put it out there. So that was for my parents today. Again, any questions that you may have, let me know in the comments. Yes, we're out there. We're doing the work in the trenches, and we're sharing what we can, what we want to share. And hopefully you can do the same as well. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.